The Thwaites Glacier in Antarctica is often called the Doomsday Glacier, which sounds dramatic, but for once the nickname is not an exaggeration. It is roughly the size of Florida, and right now it acts like a giant frozen cork, holding back enormous amounts of ice behind it. Imagine a doorstop keeping a heavy door from swinging open. Thwaites is that doorstop, except the door is the ocean.
Now, imagine it melts by 2040. Let's start gently, not with flooded cities or dramatic headlines, but with the first quiet changes that almost no one notices. The glacier doesn't vanish overnight. Instead, warm ocean water sneaks underneath it, melting it from below. The ice thins, cracks grow longer, huge slabs break off and drift away, looking calm and majestic, like nothing important just happened. But something very important did happen. The cork is starting to slip. Sea level begins to rise, not by meters at first, but by centimeters. This sounds small, almost disappointing. You won't see waves swallowing skyscrapers. What you will see is high tide creeping a little farther inland every year. Streets that used to flood once a decade now flood several times a year. Storm drains stop working the way they used to. Insurance companies quietly update their risk models and quietly stop offering coverage in certain places. Then the glacier reaches a tipping point. Once Thwaites loses enough mass, it can no longer hold back the ice behind it. Neighboring glaciers begin to accelerate, sliding toward the ocean like books falling off a tilted shelf. This is where the real numbers appear, not centimeters, but meters. Over the following decades, global sea levels could rise by more than half a meter, and potentially several meters if the entire West Antarctic ice sheet destabilizes. At this point, coastlines stop being lines. They become moving targets. Cities like Miami, Jakarta, Alexandria, and Shanghai don't disappear instantly. Instead, they become extremely expensive problems. Saltwater seeps into freshwater supplies. Underground infrastructure corrodes. Subway tunnels need constant pumping. Some neighborhoods are abandoned, not because of a single disaster, but because living there slowly stops making sense.
But the ocean is only part of the story. When massive amounts of fresh water pour into the ocean, they don't just raise sea levels, they change how the ocean itself works. In the Atlantic, this fresh water dilutes salty surface water, which normally sinks and drives powerful ocean currents. Slow those currents down, and heat stops moving the way it used to. Northern Europe begins to cool, even as the rest of the planet warms. Weather patterns grow more erratic. Rain falls where it never used to, and stops falling where millions depend on it. Agriculture struggles to keep up, not because crops can't grow, but because seasons no longer behave.
Meanwhile, Antarctica itself starts to change character. As ice retreats, dark rock is exposed, absorbing more sunlight and accelerating warming. What was once a reflective white surface becomes a heat trap. Melting speeds up even more. The system feeds on itself. And humans respond the way humans usually do, unevenly. Some countries invest heavily in seawalls, floating infrastructure, and climate-resilient cities. Others don't have that option. Tens of millions of people are forced to move inland, not as refugees from a single event, but as participants in a slow-motion relocation. Borders grow tense. Politics harden. Words like temporary and emergency lose their meaning when the problem never goes away. By 2040, the world doesn't look apocalyptic in the movie sense. Planes still fly, phones still work, people still argue online. But the background assumptions of civilization have shifted. Coastlines are no longer stable, climate is no longer predictable. The idea that the planet is a fixed stage on which history unfolds quietly breaks down.
All of this because a glacier at the bottom of the world let go. The Doomsday Glacier doesn't end humanity. It doesn't flip a switch from normal to chaos. What it does is remove the margin for error. It turns every storm, every heat wave, every political decision into something more consequential than before.
And the strangest part is that for most people, the moment it really matters won't come with a bang. It will come on an ordinary day, when the tide comes in a little higher than expected, and someone, somewhere, realizes that the water isn't going back anymore.